It brings me a great pleasure to invite someone from Boston to this bima. Why do we have people from Boston building our synagogue? So I had a big resume. Not really. Few lines you can find in your supplement. Who needs a resume when you are sitting in the resume? This is why we invited Fingold to come to the Midwest and taste the spirit and the soul of the people of this congregation. In the beginning, we had doubts. We know it all here in the Midwest. What can Boston teach us? But through amazing conversations, sometimes deep into different hours of the day, this is the resume that we want to present to this congregation. Lots of people got involved. Lots of people contributed. When you have Jews building a synagogue, it's like the Jews that build the pyramid. A lot of work. A lot of work. So it is our honor here to invite the man who has been extremely responsible to create this worship, this sacred, this holy congregation. Fingold.
Buildings speak. Through their built form, they tell a story of what is treasured from the past, what needs are now, and what is the vision of the future. Most significantly, it is a story about values. Before the building can speak, you must, so that the story that is told and translated into bricks and mortar is your story. Here's how the story began. The earliest correspondence from the congregation sought answers to several questions. The last of these asked, how does a building express social justice? I love that question because architecture at its best is an aesthetic expression of social justice. It's about inclusion, usability, and accessibility for people of all ages, interests, and abilities. It's about respect for the individual, the community, the neighborhood, and the environment. It is also about how the building can best support the values, mission, and vision of the people for whom it is designed, and it can and should be a source of joy and possibility. Later, in many conversations with the committees, we listened to your wishes for this building, and these are some of your words. You wanted a building that was beautiful but not palatial, joyful and light-filled, with gardens and outdoor spaces, a warm, friendly, welcoming, accessible building. You wanted continuity with your 140-year history, yet a building that was thoroughly modern and expressed your future in Omaha. You desired a building that reflected your commitment to social action, spoke to the next generation, was inspiring and uplifting. Finding the right site was a challenge when it was determined that we needed more than 30 acres to accommodate the developing concept of the Tri-Faith Initiative. So here we are on Sterling Ridge. Respecting what was here before, we placed your building literally on the ridge, overlooking the open park area. What struck us especially about this location, unlike your previous 3 locations, this location did not front directly on the grid. And when we saw the proposed master plan for this former golf course, we realized your new temple might be lost visually in the general development. So we conceived the idea of a lantern, a soft beacon of light in the landscape to mark this place and to illuminate. Thus it is that the upper half of this sanctuary glows within and without. If light is vital, so is form. The French architect Le Corbusier defined architecture as the magnificent play of volumes brought together in light. This Temple Israel is 50% larger than the one you just left. We wanted to create a building of this size that would relate, not dominate. Playing with the forms and exploring several options, we developed the concept of expressing the historical threefold function of the synagogue as a house of prayer, a house of assembly, and a house of study. We have expressed each of these functions in separate volumes of differing heights and sheathed in different materials. The unifying element of all of these spaces is the abundance of light and views. These functions are organized informally around the central gathering space, the community court, a space that emphasizes and defines a welcoming community. The assembly function, the social hall, has a commanding view out over the site. The study function is on two levels. The main level contains the adult education spaces, meeting rooms, library, youth lounge, and others. Then the interior glass walls of these spaces invite opportunities for participation. An historical area yet to be developed is articulated with an enclosed contemplative space, and it focuses on a special memorial garden. Taking advantage of the sloping site, the religious school classrooms are all on the lower level, accessed through an open stair under a skylight. The rooms are arranged in 3 pod-like groups, each with an activity area as its focus. The south-facing orientation affords abundant light. The children, as do all, enter the building through a single main entrance. The commingling of the generations in the community court invites a spirit of warmth, intimacy, and community. The clergy and administration, finally all together, are arranged in a bar facing the entrance courtyard. A most amazing gallery space leads to the chapel and organizes the yahrzeit plaques and the stained glass windows from Cass Street. These acts of remembrance link not only your many generations, but respect your immediate past. I designed the background for the plaques to be the Jerusalem stone, with the colors from the glass reflecting on them. The chapel, in an embracing form, draws its light from the sacred garden and leads one into it. This sanctuary is designed to accommodate a variety of capacities, from this main area to the loge and to the balcony. A sense of community is maintained no matter what the size. The idea of the surrounding garden separates the secular from the sacred and admits natural light at eye level into the sanctuary with control views out into the garden. The tent-like ceiling is reminiscent of ancient days, and with the ring of light brings focus to the whole. Following a tradition of integrating fine liturgical art, this space contains 3 of 5 jury-selected commissions. The eternal light is remarkable for the way it grows organically out of the bema wall. The colorful arc curtain was designed and made in Israel, and we conceived the band of text that separates the upper and lower portions of this space. The text speaks to spreading the shelter of peace, and the calligrapher made the text dance. The exterior of much of the building, the garden walls, and these sanctuary walls are sheathed in limestone from Jerusalem, creating an emotional connection of this stone to that place. A third element of light is a contemporary one. It's about sustainability and the ability through much natural light to be able to reduce the use of artificial light. We have then a new Temple Israel, shaped and arranged to maximize light and views in a series of forms that define and support your mission. It respects the past and embraces the future. This work is not mine alone. Tony Shao and Jeff Garriga of my office have been integral to the effort, and I'm pleased Tony is here tonight. It was a great pleasure to work for the Verana Construction and Project Advocates as project manager. Together they enabled us to fulfill a biblical tradition. It is said in Kings 1 that Solomon's temple rose silently and peacefully, the interpretation being that the temple cannot be where there is discord, violence, or revolt. The collaborative spirit they help maintain among all team members speaks to the fulfillment of that text. I am indebted to many members of the committees and especially the cabinet, all of whom have spoken well on your behalf. I want to extend a very special thanks to John Walbaum. We have been talking and working together for over 8 years. Always a gentleman, always even-tempered, he gave extraordinary guidance and leadership to all of us involved. Last week, my wife and I attended an IMAX movie, Jerusalem. It focused on the old city, a square mile of the most fought-over and beloved land in history. It was narrated by 3 young women who lived there, a Jew, a Muslim, and a Christian. In a rather wistful ending, one said that while they each cherished their own story and tradition, they did not know each other. That is the greater promise of this site here in Omaha. You should know that whenever we mention that we are designing a temple that is part of this Tri-Faith initiative right in the middle of the country, it is greeted with much excitement and enthusiasm and invokes an extraordinary sense of hope. A final detail, the unfinished niche in the vestibule called the Zecher L'Chuban, meant to be a reminder of past losses and a world not yet completed or perfected. It is also for this architect a reminder that no man-made work is ever perfect. In the words of Vince Lombardi, the great football coach, perfection is unattainable, but in chasing it, you might catch excellence. We hope we did. We are honored to have been your architects and hope your new Temple Israel will bring you much fulfillment and joy. Thank you.
Amen.